You will achieve more in 3 months of focused effort and intent than in a whole year where, let's face it, a lot of us start strong and then dip significantly. Here is how to create quarterly goals in such a way that guarantees your success. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. And let's face it, life has a funny way of throwing us off track. That is especially true when it is over a long time span, like a year. It's really hard to stay focused on something when it is beyond the horizon. Plus, in the space of a year, we can become drastically different people. A lot can happen, a lot can change in the space of a year. Quarterly goals are a great option because 3 months is a long enough time to make significant progress on something, particularly if you are singular of focus. But it's not so long that you completely lose sight of your destination. It's a long enough time to challenge you, but not so long that it defeats you, and it's less likely that something will come along and completely derail you. So let's talk about keeping your eyes on a closer prize. Because how less likely are you to slack off in February if your deadline is in March as opposed to way off in December? It starts with a review of the past year or whatever time frame you feel will give you an overall accurate reflection of your lifestyle. Look at where you best spent your time. Look at what successes you saw. Look at where you felt most fulfilled. When I was doing this a few years ago, I was very surprised to learn, particularly as an introvert, that some of my best times were spent with other people. Like, some of the best memories I have were the ones that were shared. Who knew that I would get a lot of satisfaction from spending time with others? So what I did was I noted down all of my best memories from the previous year, like the standout moments. And to do that, I looked through old journal entries, text messages, photographs, etc. Then I categorized those moments. I separated them out into groups according to what they had in common. If I hadn't done that, there was no way I would have guessed that connection would have been something that filled my cup. So review your year and group the experiences under common umbrellas, and that will give you a really good, clear idea of which are the activities that are filling you up, which are the activities that are making you the happiest, which are the ones that are the most fulfilling. Now comes the really fun part. It is time to choose which goals you're going to focus on for the coming quarter. Now, this can be a little bit tricky. So when I first started this, I had 8 groups of activities that really spoke to me and that really added value to my life. Here's what I did to narrow it down to the most impactful ones with the greatest chance of success. I started by ignoring the areas where I felt things were already going very well, where I was already incorporating those activities into my life. Instead, I looked at the areas where I knew I was going to get a deep sense of satisfaction, but where I wasn't spending a lot of my time at that particular moment. Essentially, I focused on the areas where there was a lot of room for growth, and I knew from doing my review that those areas were definitely going to give me a big return on my investment. But I still needed to hone in a little bit further. So what I did was I focused my attention on the goals that I was actually excited about. And here's the thing, I didn't always rationally know why I was excited about something. I couldn't always give a clear explanation for why I was more drawn to one thing than the other, but I went with my gut instinct. Let me tell you why this is so important. A few years ago, I was about to dismiss a financial goal that I had for myself because I thought it was just very superficial. I thought I was doing it to kind of prove something or to show other people how successful I was, and I just couldn't justify focusing my attention on something like that, you know, when it was really for show. But for some reason, I couldn't let it go. I kept coming back to this goal, and I realized afterwards that the real reason it was so important to me was because it gave me a sense of independence. After my daughter was born, I suffered from depression and I'd lost my sense of identity. I lost my sense of independence. I lost any sense of self. It was a very, very difficult time. You know, I was giving all of my attention, all of my energy to this new baby. And not only that, because my husband worked from home, I felt like I had to keep this baby quiet, keep this baby entertained the entire time so that I wasn't disrupting him. My life became about these two other people. It was all consumed by entertaining or mollifying these two other people, and there was very little of it left for me. And getting that back, getting something back for myself, regaining my independence became this huge driving force for me, even though at the time I couldn't articulate that. I didn't realize that. So do not discount what you are drawn to. There may be a deep reason that you just can't put words on right now. I think the reality for me is that I can know that I should be doing something all day long. I can have a very logical, rational explanation for why doing something will be really good for me. But if I am not excited about it, then I am not going to be dedicated to it. I'm not going to give it the time and energy it requires. Doesn't matter how great or noble or life-changing that goal will be. And that's not to say that I will never work on it, that I will never achieve that goal. It's simply saying that I will get the most benefit initially if I put my energy towards the things that currently entice and excite and motivate me. Then what I can do is I can take that motivation, I can take the self-belief and the confidence and the experience and the lessons that I have gained from achieving that goal, and I can slowly funnel it towards another goal that might require a little bit more discipline. But I have to build up to that first. So I start with the exciting things. Then I was narrowed right down to the 1 to 2 goals that I wanted to focus on. So it was time for a plan of action. I needed to create a strategy for how I was going to achieve them. First thing I did was I created a single phrase, a single sentence that summed up my vision, and that was so that I had a clear idea of what I was working towards and not some kind of vague general goal about improving something or doing more of something or doing less of something else. Then I looked at the habits and routines that I would need to implement in order for me to become this new person that I was trying to create or to achieve these goals that I was chasing. And look, for most of us, I don't think we need to spend a huge amount of time here, because I think a lot of us already know deep down what we need to do. So it's less about what we need to do and more about how we can stick to doing it. Now, my best advice here, and it's not the first time you've heard it, is to start really small. Commit to something easy so that you can build up your confidence and your discipline from there. Get your foundations solid first, and then grow into the new person you're trying to become. My second best piece of advice then, when it comes to achieving your quarterly goal, is to track it. There have been experiments that have shown that if you bring consistent awareness to something, you're going to move the needle, even if you do nothing else. There was one weight loss experiment where people were just asked to track their weight. They were asked to weigh themselves every day, but not to change their diet, not to change their exercise, not to change any of their other habits or routines, simply to weigh themselves every day. And by the end of it, they had lost weight. By simply bringing awareness to it, they had subconsciously made tiny little tweaks and changes that over time had an impact. I have had personal experience with this, not in terms of weight loss, but for example, anytime that I am tracking my spending, even if I'm not trying to reduce my spending or anything, I simply want to get a better idea of what's coming in, what's going out, particularly me, because like my income is up and down all over the place. It's not like a steady salary or anything. But on those times, like during those times when I'm tracking my spending, I do find that I naturally tend to spend a lot less simply because I am more aware of what I'm spending. So tracking is a really powerful tool. It works on your subconscious and it lets you see visual progress also. So my plans always involve increments, like those small tiny habits, and giving myself a little progress bar. I also try to get really clear on what I'm going to do when I hit an obstacle. You know, in the beginning, when you're full of motivation and you're full of energy, you can feel unstoppable. It can feel like your success is pretty much guaranteed. But hurdles will appear. I know from lots of previous experience that I will get tired. I will get bored, I will get fed up, I will get unmotivated, or something will happen, some like unexpected thing will happen that will try to throw me off course, or I will come up against a problem that I don't know the solution to. One of the things that really helps me here is to be very, very firm with myself that no matter the obstacle, no matter the hurdle, I will overcome it. No matter the problem, I will solve it. I will be doggedly persistent. Someone else has figured this out before me. I will figure it out too. Someone else has cleared this obstacle before me. I will clear it too. Another thing that really helps is to brainstorm the likely scenarios that might crop up, not just all of them that could potentially ever happen, but sticking to the most probable ones. And then I give myself something like a phrase that will help me when I'm in that situation. I give myself a little plan of action, and usually that comes in the form of an if-then statement. So if I am unmotivated, then I will, you know, call a friend, like call a really supportive, encouraging friend. If I am not sure how to do something, I don't know how to proceed, then I will spend 10 minutes researching this problem. What that does for me is that it takes a big hurdle, a big unknown, and it turns it into a small hurdle. It turns it into something that I can actually do. It turns a fear or an obstacle into action. It's very easy to kind of freeze when you feel stuck, but the only way out of that is by actually doing something, even if it's not the perfect thing, even if it's not what you see as the direct way of getting out of that rut. Doing something can be enough to get you moving and get the ball rolling again. Now, a lot of that might be classed as internal work. So now let's look at the external stuff. And this comes in two forms. It is your support network, your cheerleaders, your mentors, but also your surroundings. Now is not the time to be dealing with negative people. You need those around you who are going to support you and encourage you and cheer you on. And this can come in many different guises. So it could be a partner who takes over a little bit more of the housework while you are focusing on your goal. It could be a friend or a family member who checks in with you regularly, you know, maybe a little accountability buddy, somebody who is there to cheer you on, see how you're doing, and offer some positive reinforcement. Or it could be a teacher or a mentor or somebody who has good, relevant advice that they can share with you based on their experiences. And they don't even have to be people you know in real life. Like, the internet can be a wonderful place to find like-minded people who are also, you know, ambitious and chasing a goal, people who will cheer you on. It could be, you know, like looking something up, somebody in a YouTube video telling you how to do something, showing you how to do it. It could even be motivational quotes when you need them. Then you need to rearrange your environment, your surroundings, to set yourself up for success. And one of the first things you can do, because you are more likely to achieve a goal when it's kind of right in front of you, when you are regularly reminded of it, is to write down your goal and stick it up somewhere you'll see it, or to create a vision board for yourself. I have mine as my laptop desktop, my wallpaper, some sort of visual aid that will remind you on a regular basis of what you're working towards. And there are other things you can do too. So if, for example, you are trying to eat better, then removing all of the junk from your house is a great way to go. All of the junk food, all of the tempting stuff that you would usually reach for. Or if you really want to knuckle down and study, then clearing all of the distractions and clutter from your desk. Something I like to ask myself, which really helps, is if I were in the most conducive environment to achieving this goal, what would that look like? And not only that, but what would it not look like? So it might look like an uncluttered space. It might not look like a cluttered space, you know, having a phone out on the desk or having snacks beside you in a bowl. When I have that idea in my mind, when I know what that space should look like and what it shouldn't look like, then I try and create it as best I can in the surroundings that I'm in. I try and get as close as I can to that ideal. After that comes the big three. That is implementation, celebration, and evaluation. It is actually going and doing the work, you know, putting your plan into action. It's patting yourself on the back for a job well done, because let's face it, no one likes to keep doing something if they're getting zero recognition for it. And it is reviewing your progress on a regular basis so that you don't get too far off track and you can course correct if you need to. But obviously this whole strategy only works if you are choosing the right goals to begin with. To follow my exact process to make sure that you are doing all of the right things, then check out this video right here. I walk you through the whole process. Until then, go raibh míle maith agaibh. Agus feici mé sibh sigalua. Slán!